Donald Trump just wrapped up a disastrous meeting in the White House with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. This was supposed to be the big White House meeting where Trump was going to unveil his really hard-line plans against Russia and potential sanctions. What Donald Trump announced instead was that rather than 2 weeks before he would decide if there was going to be sanctions against Russia, which is what he was saying in April, he's now saying he will impose sanctions against Russia in 50 days if Russia doesn't stop. Here, play this clip.
And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Now, didn't Donald Trump say that he was going to end this war in 24 hours? And now he's saying that he was being sarcastic about that and he was just joking about it. If you want to also know where the 50 days came from, it was recently reported that when Donald Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin, Putin said it would take him 60 days to take over some of the areas in Ukraine that were part of Putin's military objectives. So Donald Trump just went, okay, Putin said 60 days. I'm going to be a tough guy. And I'm going to say in 50 days, if you don't stop, I'm going to impose these additional sanctions. It should also be noted that America barely buys anything at all from Russia. So these secondary sanctions aren't going to have any significant impact at all, really, given that we basically have a complete boycott of Russia to begin with. Next, Donald Trump talks about the Gaza Strip, something he also said he would bring peace to Gaza in 24 hours, but now he says he was being sarcastic about that as well. And here Donald Trump says, you know, when I think about the Gaza Strip, I think about it being the worst real estate deal ever because they could have had beachfront property. Play this clip.
And again, that was something I use. I use trade for a lot of things, but it's great for settling wars. That was really very important. Marco is working very hard with everybody here on the Strip, the Gaza Strip. I call it the Gaza Strip, one of the worst real estate deals ever made. They gave up the oceanfront property, one of the worst deals ever made, but it was supposed to bring peace, and it didn't bring peace, it brought the opposite. But we're doing pretty well on Gaza. Steve Witkoff is here, and I think we could have something fairly soon to talk about.
So then a reporter asked Donald Trump, so if Putin escalates things further, though, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond? Is it just going to be, 50 days? What are you doing here? To which Donald Trump says, don't ask me this question. I don't even want to ask. How dare you ask me this question? Here, play it.
If Putin escalates further, how far are you willing to go in response?
In what?
How far are you willing to go if Putin were to escalate, send more bombs in the coming days?
Don't ask me a question like that. How far? I don't know. I want to get the war settled. They're not Americans that are dying in it. And, I have a problem, and JD has a problem. It's a stance that he's had for a long time. They're not Americans dying, but there are a lot of people dying and on something that should be able to be settled. And we all agree with that. This group of people, we want to defend our country, but, ultimately, having a strong Europe is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, please, in the back.
And I'm trying to understand, the significance of this announcement because the way it was billed was like, Donald Trump's going to announce he's giving all of these great weapons to Ukraine, and this is going to be a decisive factor. And look, I think it's not insignificant, I suppose, that Donald Trump is having Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, there. But if you listen to what Rutte is saying, he's saying that Donald Trump called him on Thursday and said, I want Europe to buy weapons from the United States, and I'm okay then if Europe gives those weapons to Ukraine. Isn't that kind of the status quo? Our defense industry will be permitted to send weapons to Europe, and Europe may use those weapons to give to Ukraine. I mean, what here is changing the status quo? Because it seems like Donald Trump just went from 2 weeks to 50 days to buy time for Putin, who wanted 60 days. That's the only thing that I see really happening. Anyway, play this clip of Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General, saying this is really big. What's really big? Put in the comments if you think this is really, what's really big about this. Here, play this clip.
No, Mr. President, dear Donald, this is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you had taken a decision. And the decision is that you want Ukraine what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you do want the Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit. The 5%, but also the decision to keep Ukraine strong and the decision to increase our defense industrial production. So based on that, that was Europe stepping up. This is again Europeans stepping up.
Then Donald Trump starts to praise Russia's military advancing into Ukraine. He says Russia has taken a very positive, very strong. I mean, what they've done in the last couple of days, he's trying to praise it. And then Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, he goes in and he goes, no, 700 drones against innocent civilians a day in Ukraine. That's bad. Here, play this clip.
But they don't have, they're losing on equipment, and Russia's really taken a very positive, very strong. I mean, what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Without military reasons, so what they are doing is 700 drones a day, missiles, bombing cities. This is not because of military goals. It is just creating panic, keeping people out of their sleeps, hitting towns. It's really terrible, and it is meaning a lot of people lose their lives.
A reporter asked Donald Trump, how did you tell Putin this was coming? By the way, I still don't know what this is. This is he went from 2 weeks to 50 days and he's allowing Europe to buy weapons, or the weapons that were supposed to go to Ukraine may still go to. Am I missing something here? and then Donald Trump's like, I talk to him a lot. I say, Vladimir, we've had very good conversations. But then he goes and bombs Ukraine. And I hear about that from Melania. And Melania says, oh, but Donald, he's still bombing Ukraine. Don't you have you're learning from Melania? Here, play this clip.
I would say.
How did you deliver this news to Putin, sir?
Say it?
How did you tell Putin this was coming?
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles launched into Kiev or some other city. And I said, it's strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. I say, isn't that a very lovely conversation? And then the missiles go off that night. I go home, I tell the First Lady, I spoke to Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, look, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But what I do say is that at a certain point, ultimately talk doesn't talk. It's got to be action. It's got to be results. And I hope he.
So naturally, a reporter asks him, well, why are you giving 50 more days? I mean, you said 2 weeks back in April. Why are you giving him 50 more days? And then Donald Trump goes, well, I inherited this war. Biden. It's all Biden's fault. And I think 50 days is a short time. Here, play it.
Any questions, please? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. What was the tipping point for you in making this decision? Was it a conversation with President Putin? Was it a piece of intelligence? And why are you giving 50 more days?
I think I think it's a very short period of time. I think, don't forget, I've just really been involved in this for not very long. And it wasn't initial focus. This is a Biden war. This is a Democrat war, not a Republican or Trump war. This is a war that would have never happened. It shouldn't have happened. A lot of people being killed. When the final numbers come in, you're going to see a lot more people are being killed in this war than you think, than you've been writing about. It's a very deadly war. They're all bad, but this is a very deadly war. The numbers are going to be far greater. When an apartment house comes down, and they say 2 people were slightly injured. No, many people were killed. And those numbers will be at some point accurately reported. So far, they're not. It's a deadly war. I think that you're just going to see. I think you're going to see strong movement. I hope so. I hope so.
And what about
the secondary tariffs are very, very powerful.
What about the tariffs that?
So then a reporter asks him, and the reporter buys the propaganda from the regime. So the reporter says, there was a pause in delivery of weaponry in order to evaluate apparently the U.S. stockpiles. That's what they said after they were caught cutting off the weapons to Ukraine. That's not what was really happening. They just stopped giving weapons to Ukraine. Then they said, we're just reevaluating our stockpiles. Okay. So then a reporter asked Donald Trump, what did your evaluation show? To which Trump goes, evaluation. The evaluation showed evaluation. Here, play this clip.
In fact, they're coming over. They'd like to talk to us.
Mr. President, is there any concern about the U.S. stockpiles? There was a pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine in order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. What came out of that?
Evaluation. I mean, this was a very big, what we're talking about today is a very, very big day. And what Pete was doing, and me too, I knew what Pete was doing, was evaluation, because we knew this was going to happen. And now we actually announced it. They voted on it. It's all been done. So obviously that has a big impact on, when you say pause, obviously you're not going to be doing things if you don't know what's going to happen here. But we were pretty sure this was going to happen, so we did a little bit of a pause. But this is a very big event today. This is something very.
And then, of course, state regime media known as Fox, utterly pathetic, utterly trash. They get on and they're like, oh my God. Oh, that was amazing. Oh my God. That was the most, she goes, that was ground shaking. That was ground shaking? That was that was not ground. That was the opposite of ground shaking. Play this clip.
We sometimes will pause for just a moment if the President of the United States should want to answer a last stray question. That was really ground shaking.
By the way, Trump has also asked a question about tariffs. Will you allow European countries to continue to negotiate tariffs lower than 30%? I mean, you have the NATO Secretary General right there, right? I mean, what's the plan with Europe now that so we're still going to do a trade war with Europe while you're telling Europe they can buy the weapons to send to Ukraine? What's going on there? And Trump goes, yeah, no, the tariffs those are staying. That's the deal. My letters are deals. When I sent those 5th grade style letters to the countries, that wasn't just a letter. That's how I'm a deal maker. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, you've praised European countries today as standing up for Ukraine, as being strong. Will you allow them to continue to negotiate tariffs lower than 30% before August 1st, or is the deal set at this point?
What does that mean? You mean you're talking about the tariffs?
On trade, on tariffs.
You're back on tariffs. You're on a more friendly tariff, right? A little bit more friendly tariff. No, we're going to be talking to people. We have, I watched the show this morning. They were talking about, well, when's he going to make the deal? The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk. We are open to talk, including to Europe. In fact, they're coming over. They'd like to talk to us.
That's a deal. That's the stupidest thing. You sent idiotic letters to countries with typos and random letters capital and random words capital. You told certain countries, where there were actually trade surpluses with, that there was deficits. I mean, you beclown the entire United States and you're like, those were deals. Those were deals. Then Donald Trump says, he goes, we want to make sure that Ukraine does what they have to do. They may feel emboldened, though. And then Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, goes, Ukraine wants a peace deal. Ukraine wants a peace deal. And then Donald Trump goes, I think so. Here, play this clip.
Countries in the world. So that's the story. We hope that's going to have an impact on Vladimir Putin, and we hope it's going to have an impact on Ukraine also. We want to make sure that Ukraine does what they have to do. All of a sudden they may feel emboldened, or maybe they don't want. You know, this is a very difficult situation.
Ukraine wants a peace deal.
I think so.
And they will stay committed to that, there's no doubt. They want it. But the Russians have to become
They have to
serious.
continue to want it, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You and I will make sure of that.
All of a sudden they get no.
You and I will make sure of that.
We'll make sure. I feel confident that they will do what has to be done. Plus, we have certain parameters that both.
I just to note as well, like, at the same time, Donald Trump is tariffing all these nations. Like, he tariffed Brazil, where we have a trade surplus with and not a deficit. And by the way, right now, I'm not sure if you know this, but beef is now the epicenter of food inflation. Cattle prices have surged to a record high recently, and yet we are now doing a 50% trade war with Brazil, where we get 5 times Brazil's beef exports to the U.S. more than doubled in the first 5 months of 2025. The European Union has already prepared a list of tariffs worth 21 billion euros on U.S. goods if the sides fail to reach a trade deal. And by the way, just in the background while all of this is taking place, I don't want to lose track of it. And fortunately, Drudge has on their front cover, release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files, as Donald Trump continues to cover up for Jeffrey Epstein. Inside the U.S. Justice Department, in the unit that's supposed to defend the Trump policies in federal court, they've lost 2/3 of its staff already. Former staff lawyers say 69 lawyers have left the federal programs branch, which is supposed to justify the Trump policies, because they don't want to go into court to support unlawful policies. And now today, all of the Republicans, like Mike Lawler, who's up for re-election in a contested seat coming up, they're all like, it's time to move on from Epstein. We shouldn't talk about Epstein anymore. Let's all just move on. We're not moving on. We're going to talk about it every day. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.